I was told I wasn't go into the gooseberry garden. Here, the aunt changed the attitudes of the children in order to get his self benefits. As he changed that, I told you not to when aunt was Nicholas was in disgrace, but he tells that Nicholas may go into the gooseberry garden in order to help aunt, so that he changed the rules for self benefits. So the attitude and the character of aunt is clearly portrayed as aunt is a self-centered character who doesn't care about children or other people. So Nicholas now started to revenge aunt, as he says that your voice doesn't sound like aunt. Here comes the Nicholas as a evil one. We can say that Nicholas, who is an imaginative character, now he started another plan to say that your voice doesn't sound like aunt's. You may be the evil one tempts me to be disobedient. Usually, at that point, adults say that if you do this, you will be killed by the evil and or the devil from the hell. So, in we can also find that in our childhood, uh, adults says that this way that you may the evil one will tempt you if you be disobedient to elders. So that the diction of evil one which uttered by the adults is repeated in the way of Nicholas as he revenged the idea of adults to in order to tempt adults again. So that like this, Nicholas says that will there be a strawberry jam for tea? Asked Nicholas innocently. Certainly there will be, said, and privately resolving that Nicholas should have none of it. Now Nicholas says that you are the evil one, not Aunt, because Aunt usually says that they are uh, won't be a strawberry jam, but Nicholas know that there are 4 jars of it in the stock cupboard because I looked, and of course you know it's there. She doesn't because she said there wasn't any. But at the starting, now aunt will would thought that if it says there will be certainly strawberry jams, Nicholas will fetch a ladder and he will get out of the rainwater tank. But the thinking of aunt is uh, totally refused by Nicholas as his thing. Turned the plate into another direction and said, "This you are a evil one, devil." And like this, he revenged and unfortunately, Nicholas told that aunt is the evil one and get away from the gooseberry garden. Like this, the play came to the conclusion in the tea that the maid in from the who came from into the gooseberry garden rescued aunt from the rainwater tank. Like this, all the people who um, act in the story, the children's, adults, aunt, Nicholas are all in the tea table evening time. At the day starting, it was the conflict was started in the morning table and the conflict ended in the tea table. So that, as I already told that the whole day was starting from the introduction of the conflict and the resolution of the conflict in the climax, and the following action are clearly mentioned here as with the character of antagonist and protagonist Nicholas. As is, the play ended in a humorous way as Nicholas aunt in a rainwater have a tank for 35 minutes and Nicholas, who is considering the possibility of huntsman how would he escape from his hound and while the wolves feasted on the strict stag. Like this, the beautiful short story which says the moral of generation gap and theme of world of children's versus world of adults and morality versus innocence. Innocent versus experience can be seen as a theme of this short story. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you, Banian, for your wonderful presentation. It is also an example for us. Next, I would like to call Saityan to do his presentation on the topic upside down.
Good evening to you all. Today, in this occasion, I'm going to talk about the poem Upside Down. So, it's a humorous poem. So, it was written by Alexander Kushner. So, Alexander Kushner was a Russian poet and the author of more than 30 books of poetry and numerous articles on classic and modern Russian society. And they were collected in two big books, and his poetry resembles the and he usually doesn't write in a free verse and seldom experience or tries to introduce a new poetic form for the literature. So the Nobel Prize winner Brusky one called Kushner one of the best lyrical poets of the 20th century. So adding that his name is to stand in the line of names dear to her heart of the every native Russian speaker. So Kushner's poems were translated to English, Dutch, and Italian, German, French, and Japanese also. So when we see this poem upside down, it's about a foolish man named Upside Down, and the poet clearly emphasizes and mentions the his actions and his behavior about the upside down behavior. So the poem has 9 stanzas, and each stanza carries 4 lines. So let's analyze the stanzas by the poem. So the first stanza: once there lived upside down, who was the talk of the town. If he was told to turn right, he turned to left without spite. So this first stanza was an introduction to the poem that it talks about a person named Upside Down, and he is an upside man. And so here the name Upside Down may be a nickname for him. So perhaps it may happen that he does everything in a upside manner. We can see that in a reverse manner. That upside down means is a topsy turvy manner. So it may given to him to his actions. And so who was a top of the all the town. So here the from this line we can say that he is the central character of the town. That so the town is a busy place and where people made many things, but according to the poet, he was a top in this busy town. And the last two actions are the absent action done by him according to the his name. That if he was told to turn right, he turned to right, left with a spite. So this is his action of upset manner. And the last 2 lines are the introduction for the center character upside down, which are introduced as a comedian and it make more fun in the readers. And when we see the second stanza, if he went sailing in a boat, no one could make him understand why he seemed to be afloat and what had happened to the land. So according to the stanza, when upside down was going in a boat, no one could make him understand why a boat floats in a water. That means he didn't know the basic knowledge of the simple logic of physics that the density of the water, the density of the volume of the water is higher than the boat. So that's the reason it's floating in the river. So he doesn't know how the simple physics which can be applied to the each actions of a human being. So through the jumbled lines of the rhyming pattern, the poet questions that the people brings out their opinions, whether to it gives some sympathy or lack of laugh on him. So the poet makes it by questions the reader by the jumbled rhyme pattern. That means boat, afloat. So understand, land. So it comes in a irregular pattern after one by one. So let's see the search stanza. He read his letters backside 4 and wrote his letters backside 4. So if a tone was to be read, he read it, not done ahead. So in this stanza, he reveals another action of this upset character, that he reads and writes the letter in a backside 4, which means a reverse manner. So it's really funny that when a word is given to read or write in a way, so if we write this in a reverse manner, the total meaning of the word will be auto changed. So the writer has mentioned the simple example of tone and not in this sense, that so if a tone was to be read, he read it as not. So the tone and not the each words meanings are changed when he read the letters in a backside manner. So isn't it a absurd manner when we see this? And the writer mentions him as a dunderhead. So dunderhead means it's a stupid man. So he mentions him as a stupid man. And when we see the third stanza of this poem, all his life he was afraid to cross a bridge. He would always wade unless the water was too deep or embankment was too deep. So usually we can see that bridges are built to cross the rivers. So, but he is afraid of it. So he has a he has the habit of wading through the water if water is not deep or the embankment is not deep. So if he has the common sense, he can use the bridge to cross the river without any fear when there was no deep water. But here he goes to the water when it was not deep. So for assume him, unfortunately, if the water was too deep, what he will do if he got with a bridge or he swim? So it's the writer mentions about this indirect question in the readers, and moreover, this line suggests that he's more than fool than a jester. That because a fool doesn't try to understand a situation logically. So as well as from this logical thinking, he's more fool than a fool. So when you see the fifth stanza, he went into a restaurant. The waiter said, "What do you want?" He said, "I would like a pair of socks which clocks on them and in a box." So the poet adds more fun to the poem, that when he goes to the restaurant, the waiter asks, "What do you want, sir?" So he answers that, "I want a pair of socks with clocks on them and in a box." So when we see the usually the restaurant is a place where people go and sit and eat their ordered meals. So here he goes to the restaurant and the waiter asks what he wants in a casual manner when we go to a restaurant. He answers that, "I would like a pair of socks." So he comes to the text restaurant whether he wants to go to a textile shop, and it's a upside down behavior that he has gone to the textile shop, and even the socks and clocks are the two different items, but he wants them in a same together box. So it's an absolutely ridiculous when the readers can see that. And this sixth stanza is very important for this poem, that the circus came to the town one day. Of course he went without delay, and everyone said upside down was funnier than a circus clown. So according to this stanza, the summary of the stanza is, one day a circus came to the town and everyone goes, and upside down the main character also went there. But the people's opinions was that he was more funny than a clone. So from this we can see that, so in the time of the poem developed, there was circus that they goes to every town and they play the circus and they earn money from that. So that the circus management brings that the trained animals, some funny activities and more than clones. So the professional clones are very sincere and they are very professional in their making fun the readers and the audience, it means. But according to the people, that means the audience, upside down was more funny than the clone. That it means that the clone's activities are not equal to the actions of the main character upside down. That his actions are more fun and it evokes humor in the reader, in the audience. That it can be taken as a challenge for the circus team, because the the trained professionals are trying to make them laugh, but upside down had made it easily because it's his nature, it's his basic living style. So he also earned some money for the circus, that people came there faster and faster because upside down was making many fun. So it creates some money for the circus team. And when we see the seventh stanza, just yesterday the postman brought a letter to him from his aunt. Shall I read? Perhaps I ought, perhaps I will, perhaps can't. So in this stanza, the poet reveals that about a letter received by upside down from his aunt yesterday. So it seems that he does not have any interest in reading the letter. When we receive a letter from a relative, usually we feel curious about reading the letter. On the contrary part of the poem, upside down is in a dilemma whether to read the letter or not. So the poet vividly brings out the upside down hesitation, and through the repetition of his self-questioning with the word of perhaps. So as readers, we wonder why the aunt decides to write a letter to this type of funny character, and when he makes everything upside down, she would have common sense to understand that writing letters is meaningless and wasting time in vain. So whenever if she meets him, perhaps he may respond rather positively. Nowhere in the poem upside down has any close personal contact. The poet also presents all the actions about the upside down either through the observation or the information received to him without any person connect with him. So as well as in the eighth sense, he eyed it this way, eyed it that way. Then he stuck in it in his hat. His auntie wrote, "Dearest boy, all you do it is to annoy." So the stanza is to continue his responses to the letter sent by the aunt. After turning the letter into the redactions and looking it in the different angles, he puts it inside his head. So the poet creates a visual imagery of his peculiar eye movements at this moment. So moreover, sticking the letter into his head without putting it into the pocket is also an absurd manner. That usually when we in the time of that poem developed, the people were wearing coats. When we see the Western culture, it's a usual one. And when we receive a letter, we just put them in a pocket in the coat. But here he puts the letter in his head. So it creates a ridiculous and it is so funny to the readers. And however, the aunt addressed him in a letter very courteously and affectionately, that as dearest boy. But it is ironic that the content of the letter begins with unhappy remarks about her nephew's behavior. She also says that he does it make others angry. It is evident that she does not try to laugh at his actions as others do, like, but she wants to make him think of himself beyond the reputation he has earned from the society around him. So it's about not his funny actions. It's mainly about his aunt worries about his nephew. And stanza 9, wearing funnels when it's not hot, going naked when it's not. You must behave as others do if they to have respect for you. So the aunt is very critical and satirical towards him in the first two lines of this last stanza. She criticized that his substitute behavior, that upside down wear flannels when it is hot and he wears nothing when it's not. People usually wear cotton clothes in warmer weather conditions like summer, and flannel clothes are worn in winter. So as the aunt points out, upside down does everything in the opposite manner. Thus the aunt expose his utter foolishness and her utmost best. The line going naked when it's not creates more irony and sarcasm. The word naked has a deeper implied meaning than its literal meaning. People in the society laugh at his nakedness, which is really his hollowness and meaningless of life. The aunt's words would help upside down understand the reality of the life. And the last two lines of the most significant in the poem that the aunt gives upside down a very serious advice that you must behave as others do if they are to have respect for you. So it is be a normal man like others in a society and gain respect from them. Thus, the aunt's genuine valuable advice would help the young man give up his upside down identity and be a well organized, ordered, methodical person as others like do that. So let's analyze the themes of this poem. That the poem Upside Down was written by the Russian poet Alexander Kushner and it was translated into English by Margaret Wettin. The poet introduced us to a person who used to interrupt everything he came across in a completely different way in order to amuse people around him. The poet presents some of the situation in which this person responded and acted in a silly manner and rather upset manner. Because of this upset manner, he became the central character of the people in the town for fun and joy. That's the reason the people call him as Upside Down. So Upside Down is considered as a poem of humor. Its humor is created through the upset and silly actions done by the character of Upside Down. Some of these are incredible because they are beyond reality. Nevertheless, it is nature of humorous poem. So fantastic events, characters, exaggerations, and other essential features for the humorous poem. For example, the pigtail by William Makepeace and Colonel Fexery Butterworth Toast by Charles Cosley are some examples for the humorous poems. Most of the poets do not intend to bring out the humor and sarcasm in their poem, but they try their best to convey the deep message through nonsense. So this is a common feature of the poem, Upside Down too. So one of the main things brought out in this poem is really a moral message that the poet advises the people to be normal and have an ordinary lifestyle to earn respect from others. This message is given to the young man in the poem by his aunt. You must behave as others do if they are to have respect for you. As far as the character of Upside Down is concerned, and he earned reputation only through his hilly actions. So people only know him only as a joker or a fool. But some people have some manima to outshine the other people in an extraordinary manner. Perhaps it's very tiresome, unnatural, and impractical, and also dangerous. But they always are there to them. In the poem The Pigtail, written by William Makepeace, the sage wants to wear a pigtail to outshine and outdo otherwise people. So, moreover, he wants to hang the pigtail in front of his face, but not behind his head. The lines from the poems are example, and they are very significant for the writing. He mused upon his curious case and sure he would change the pigtail place and have it hanging at his face, not dangling there behind him. So even the sage also goes against the natural and normal order, you can imagine how other ordinary people behave. Although some actions of upside down are incredible and they are some young teenagers and who behave in an unusual manner. For instance, if teachers and parents are advised to assign them to simple tasks, they make everything topsy-turvy, perhaps unintentionally or intentionally. So moreover, when there are easy ways to approach a target, some people apply very hard ways and means to achieve them. Nevertheless, they end up in failure and hopelessness. In the poem, Upside Down does not use the bridge, the easy way to cross the river, but wade through the water, making others laugh. He goes into a restaurant to buy socks and clocks. Also, he wears bananas when it's not hot. All these behavior patterns suggest that his extraordinary behavior. As the aunt addresses him, dearest boy, you can assume that he is a young boy, man or boy. So he does not remain at a young age forever. He has to marry or have children. Then definitely his unusual behavior affects his married life and his family life too. On the other hand, who is ready to marry such a top people? So therefore, it is not too late for him to start a new life and gain love and respect from others instead of laughter. In addition, the poet exposes some weaknesses of the society that we can highlight it as the theme of that people laugh at others' weaknesses and habit without helping them to correct them. In the poem, the people used to call this man upside down because of his silly mistakes. Perhaps he would have made one or two such mistakes in the past carelessly and got his name. But when the people had taken fun from him mistakes, he would have developed them purposefully. Because when he became the center talk of the people, he would have lived in an illusion of fun and enjoy. So he did not take life seriously. He did not want to correct himself. He thought his life was joke, and he was not intelligent to enough to think that the everyday he cannot be perform all these fun stupid actions. It is ironic that no one can forward to correct him until his aunt sent him a letter. There are even children in our society who have become addicted to such bad behavior habits, and but no one pays attention to them seriously. Therefore, we could not laugh and encourage them or get fun from them, but we have to find out the way and means to guide them for the correct path. And these are my analyzing and of this poem, Upside Down. And I hope you have learned from many things from me. And thanks for hearing me.
Thank you, Saithiam, for your best presentation. Now I am going to give vote of thanks. First of all, I say good evening to you all. I thank to all for present in this presentation. Presentation is the best way to memorize easily. By this presentation, we can memorize the themes, literary techniques, etc.